Hey guys, welcome to Tiny House Customs. I'm Dan, and in today's video I'm going to run some wire for all my outlets and the lights and stuff like that, and some wire to the breaker box. I'm using 14-2 wire. This is a 15 amp, rated 15 amp cord. Some of my tools are pretty high draws. You know, the table saw and the chop saw, probably, I don't know what they run off, but I know 15 amps is enough. And then I'm also not going to be running multiple tools at the same time. 15 amps. So the chop saw needs 15 amps. So I think I'm going to do, if I've got the room in my breaker box, I'll do two 15 amp breakers. So the light switches will be on one, and then the outlets will be on the other. Whenever I buy this 14-2 wire, I always buy these 250 foot rolls. They're about $45 each. I do have a bunch of leftover wire from the multiple projects that I've worked on, so I'm going to try to use the two of these that I have already open, and we'll save this for a rainy day. But one thing that I don't like about this package is it doesn't come on a spool, so I can't like put a rod through it and hang it on something and have the wire come out nicely. It always ends up becoming like this mess of a wire. So what I think I'm going to do is make a piece of wood that holds it, so it'll be screwed together, and I'll sandwich wood in between it, and it'll be something that I can reuse over and over again. So I'm just going to grab some measurements off this. Let's go 14 inches. Let's go 13 inches because that's what it is. Yeah, that'll be all right. So this is 13, 13 and 13. Run into a problem, got a problem, not anymore. So I've got 2 sheets of plywood that will get sandwiched like that. Following me? I need this inside dimension is 7 5/8. Let's go 7 5/8 on the money. All right. And then I need this depth is 2 1/4. Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be tight. We want it tight. 2 1/4. I know I've got one of those things called a compass. One reason why I'm redoing this workshop, so it would be right here. Boom, got my compass. That's where it goes. Boom. And we'll place this right here. You know what? We can only do 4. That's all right. Now this one I don't need to screw on that well. You know, maybe 2 longer screws might be better. I'm just gonna mark the center. I'll drill a hole through there. You know, I've thought about this, and so I've thought about this, you know, for the last day or whatever, and I've, you know, made plans on how I was gonna build it, and that's as far as I had planned in my head. I had thought about ways to like make this work well, but I didn't go that far. You know, I thought about a pipe. I thought about just a wire. I don't know. So I just got a 1/2-inch bolt, drilled a larger hole in this piece, and then I drilled a hole into this workbench, put a washer underneath there. It'll work for this rodeo. Not the best setup, but it'll work. I can run wire and not have issues. Yes, that'll be an issue though, when it gets too fast. But anyways, let's start running some wire. So I got some cable staples. I call them wire staples. But yeah, and I got some zip ties to connect it to those rings that are on the top there, so I can run the wires up top there. And yeah. Now again, none of this, now I don't know if I've said this, but none of this is code, what I'm doing. All this wiring is technically temporary. It's all the wire is going to be exposed. When you have exposed wire, it needs to be shielded with some type of protective cover on it. They do sell wire that has like a metal mesh on it already, but it's like 3 or 4 times the price, I think. So, plus this is temporary, like I said. This could all come down next week when I decide, oh, I got money now to blow on other things. So I'm just gonna feed the wire in there. I'm gonna give myself about 2 feet. You really don't need that much. And we'll wrap it so it doesn't get pulled out. And then we're just gonna run this up and over and across and down. When you're putting wire staples in, you want them to be loose. You don't want to over tighten them. The wire should be able to still move through there. That one's going to be a pain in the butt. Oh God. Oh jeez. Amen. I posted a video the other day and I got a lot of negativity for buying something I didn't need. You know, I was raised by a single mother, Daniel, and if that taught me one thing, if she taught me one thing, it was that there's needs and wants. Well, I'm now a full-grown adult. I know. Some of you think I'm not. But if I want to buy something that costs money, I'm going to. It's pretty simple. I know some people thought that, you know, I didn't need it, so why did I get it? I don't need any of these tools that I have. Everything that I do, all these projects that I do are a passion or a hobby, whatever you want to call it. I enjoy doing these things. I don't drink, I don't do drugs. Well, that's a lie, because we know you drink. You know what I mean. I stay out of trouble. I haven't been, I haven't been to jail in, oh well, that's a bad example. So if I spend a little bit of money on something that, you know, gives me pleasure, what's the big deal? I don't go on like extravagant vacations. On top of the container are these like rings to secure stuff down. I'm just gonna take a zip tie, run it through there, and connect the wire. I'm gonna keep these zip ties loose so I can run additional wires through there. All the lighting wires, I'm gonna run through it. So I'm gonna keep a lot of the wire loose for now until I'm ready to secure everything down, then I'll tighten it up. So I got the wire running across there, and it needs to come behind the workbench to right here. So what I'm gonna do is take the wire, go past the hole, and put a kink in it. That is gonna be the objective, to get that into the hole. You and I both know I'm wet dreaming it. It's not gonna be that easy, but that's good. Next one. So this last box, I'm going to cut it. I've been keeping the wire continuous like that for no reason. You can have separate wires. Those are all going to get cut and spliced into in a minute. It was easier to run the wires in while I was running them out at the same time. So from here, I'm going to take a wire and go from the breaker box up the floor, and it'll connect into this box. So the power will start here and feed out that way. I forgot an outlet box up there, so I'm gonna go and run that from the table saw to the workbench up there. So I got wires going to all the outlet boxes. Next thing I need to do is run wire for each light. It's just gonna be a continuous line from the back one, up, 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 and then it'll go down to the outlet box. It's gonna white out, yep. It's gonna all come down to this box, and then I'll have to run a wire from this box all the way back to the breaker box. I kind of want to listen to a little music, so I'm just going to run some wire and, you know, maybe I'll put you in a safe place because I know some of you are fragile. some of you partake in these safe places. Writing songs that are never Alright, this is gonna be great! So excited. Have some light in here. So I've run all the wire. I've got power coming from the breaker box, which I'll show you in a second, all the way up to where this light switch and outlet is going to go. And then I also have the wire running from that last box out. So I've got kind of a continuous line from every outlet box all the way down. And then I've also got a continuous line from the light switch to every single light, especially also I had forgotten to do the one on the workbench, but I went back and rewired that. So this goes to the workbench comes up, goes to that light, and then it continues down the line. But I'll have those 6 lights on one designated light switch. So now that I've run all the wire, I want to secure it up there. I'm going to put a zip tie on every one of those rings, and I'm going to tighten them down all the way, since I don't have to run any more wire. It's not really needed, but it'll make my work look a little nicer, a little neater. So I'm out at the breaker box. I've got those 2 lines coming out. These should be inside conduit, outside, but again, temporary work, so it doesn't really matter. One thing I did when I was, one problem I had when I was running the long line from the light switch to here is I frayed the Romex casing on it. You know, this little cover. This is no good. You don't ever want to bury this inside of a wall with that like that, because although I didn't do any damage to either of the wire, it's just not good. You know, I remember doing construction once, and they wanted can lighting in specific locations, and it was right where a joist was, and so they had already run all his wire to it, and I had to cut the joists out, and these were like 16-inch TJI joists, massive things. I had to put in some LVLs and hangers and stuff like that. And when I was doing it, I literally just nicked the corner of the Romex. And the electricians were standing there watching me, waiting for me to do it, really. And as soon as I did, they all jumped on it and they started rerunning wire. And I'm like, really? Can't you just put some electric tape on it? He's like, it was a $15 million house. He's like, in a $15 million house, we're going to have one little nick that causes a fire, and they'll be on you. And I said, yeah, run that wire, run it. I'm not paying you to run it, so knock yourself out. There's only one more thing I wanted to say about running wire. You never want to have splices, wires being spliced together with wire nuts or however you connect them, anywhere outside of a box or a container that you can have access to. So all these wires run from one light to the next light, or from one outlet box to the next outlet box. There's no like splicing in between. So at one point I ended up with like 15 feet of wire, but I had nothing I could use it on. So I cut the wire so that it would land on a box, and I started the new coil, new roll to continue on. So I've got no breaks in the line anywhere outside of those things. You just explained that twice. Good. Hire an electrician, you know, but you can do it. Especially this, I would call low voltage. It's not low voltage, but. So I think that's going to do it for this video. I don't know how long it was, maybe 7-8 minutes. But from here on out, I'm going to cut these wires, splice them in, use these little fancy wire connectors that I love so much. And yeah. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to my channel and you like this kind of content, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you happen to like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you want to leave your great knowledge down below, especially if you're an electrician and you want to just rain on my parade, leave that great knowledge down below. None of this is really to code. I'm trying to keep it as code worthy as possible, but you know, having exposed wire like this is totally against code, but all temporary. It'll all be removed one day, so not that big of a deal. I can access every point of this system at all times. It'll never be buried inside of something, and I'm fine with it. It'll be good. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.